Where all the magic is happening, that is the small intestine. This is the primary site for digestion. This is the primary site for absorption of the nutrients. Now, with that said, the primary site for protein breakdown, stomach. That's where it really begins and does a lot of yeoman's work in there. The small intestine continues that process, okay? In the mouth, salivary amylase help to initiate the breakdown of carbohydrates. Stomach, that stops. Once it gets back in here, we pick it back up again, right? Fat began in the stomach. We do a lot of heavy lifting though here within the small intestine. So that's why it's referred to as the primary site for nutrient digestion and absorption. We have 3 different segments of the small intestine. The first one is only about 12 inches. It's the duodenum. It is a little unique in that it doesn't have some of the adaptations that we see in the jejunum. The jejunum is the middle portion. This is where 80% of digestion and absorption occur. Very little absorption absorption and digestion occur in the duodenum. This is just there to receive the chyme. There's a lot of buffers here that get secreted in this area. There's some called Brunner's glands in this area that's helped to secrete some very alkaline mucus to help to really buffer that high acid content coming in. So it looks a little bit different than the jejunum. The jejunum has a number of adaptations because of what primarily occurs there, absorption. The ileum is the last segment here. And we get some digestion and absorption here. Most of that happens in the middle portion in the jejunum though. We will reabsorb like bile and whatnot gets reabsorbed here and gets conveyed back to the gallbladder. So there are some things that happen here, but we're going to be looking more at the jejunum than anything. From small intestine, we go to the large intestine, and that passes through another sphincter, and that's called the ileocecal sphincter, sometimes called the ileocecal valve, same thing. And there's the lovely little portions there. There's the duodenum, first 10 to 12 inches. And then the middle portion here is all the jejunum. Okay, it's several feet long. And then here we have the ileum, the last few feet of the small intestine right here. Okay. Ileocecal valve or sphincter, sorry, will be right here. And that opens up into the large intestine. We have a number of secretions that enter into the small intestine. And here I'm kind of giving you an example of how much is dumped in there. 1.5 quarts of fluids, 1.5 of fluid, 1.5 or 1,440 milliliters of fluids and enzymes get dumped into the small intestine. That's a huge amount. I mean, there is so much being dumped into this thing. Not only do the intestinal cells secrete stuff, but the pancreas has a number of secretions, some enzyme, buttload of enzymes, and a few hormones. We have the gallbladder / liver doing their thing. So we got a lot of stuff going on being dumped into the small intestine. There are a lot of things to help facilitate all that nonsense. Again, mucus gets secreted as well. Can't forget mucus. Again, it helps to really protect the mucosal lining, protecting that absorptive surface. Here is a nice little cross section looking at the small intestine. Really, this is the jejunum, and for a little bit of the ileum, this is really what it looks like. A number of little fingers and little hairs on those fingers. You can see inside these little bitty fingers here, this little villus. All these are villi, be plural. You can see we have capillaries, the red and the blue. We have this green thing called a lacteal. So we are absorbing materials here. Oh my gosh, excuse me. We are absorbing materials here, and you can see we're passing it through the cell, get it into the blood, and get it to all the places in the body. Here's what one of these intestinal cells look like up close. Simple columnar epithelium for those who have had anatomy. There you go. And here's those little hairs on top of those individual cells, those microvilli. We have 1, 2, 3 specializations that we don't see anywhere else in the digestive tract. Just like with the stomach. Stomach has an adaptation that we don't see anywhere else. That oblique layer muscle. Here in the small intestine, we have 3 adaptations that we really don't see anywhere else. Okay. That's probably significant. These 3 little adaptations allow the small intestine to be able to do what it do, absorb nutrients. The first one is circular folds. Circular folds, think of them as speed bumps. Okay. These circular folds help to slow the passage of food through the small intestine to ensure that I absorb everything that I can. I want stuff to go through slow. Okay? I want stuff to go through slow in the small intestine. These circular folds help to facilitate that. The villi. The villi are these tiny finger-like projections. All these little fingers sticking up here. Okay? All those little fingers. That's the villi. They help to increase surface area. These help to increase surface area so I can absorb more stuff. Okay? Secrete more enzymes, absorb more stuff, more nutrients. Both of these, I'm not going to ask you that. I doubt I would ask that number, so don't worry about it. It's about 200 square meters. That's about surface area. It's about the size of a tennis court. I think a tennis court is around 260 square meters. So this is just a little bit less than a tennis court. Damn, it's huge. Once I add the microvilli on top of that, we're probably there. But these 2 alone give us about the size of a tennis court inside your belly. It's crazy. All to help you absorb nutrients. The third adaptation that we see that we don't see on any of the other cells really for what we want to do are microvilli. These are the tiny hairs on the individual cells. So if I go back to this picture, the tiny hairs on the individual cells. Okay, then you can see that brush border effect here, those little hairs standing up on all those intestinal cells. Brush border. There it is. Okay. These have enzymes. So these intestinal cells will make enzymes and they get released off of these hairs, through the microvilli. This allows me to digest and absorb the nutrients that we are breaking down. So what does the function of the small intestine? Digestion and absorption. How does it do that? Through all of these adaptations, slowing it down, increasing surface area, increasing more and more spots in which I can release enzymes. So I can break down, digest, absorb nutrients, okay? Macros, micros, all of these things. We absorb them inside the intestinal cells. Go back here, going the wrong way. Go. So here, when I break down the chyme here, when I release the various different enzymes to help chew off pieces here, I can bring those in, absorb them in, pass them through, and then get them into either a lacteal, if you're a fat, or anybody else into the capillary. And this takes it throughout the entire body.